Hello and welcome to Piano Shack with me, Woody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, I've owned this for 1 week now and I've made 3 YouTube videos and a few Instagram performances and put about 20 hours into the keyboard altogether. So I think it's the perfect time to share my first impressions. Let's do 10 fast thoughts.
Fast thought number one. Fast thought number one.
Many of you have been asking about the loudspeakers on this one. Are they any good? Well, yes, they are. They sound absolutely fabulous, and I can fill the entire room with sound when I put this just to about 2 o'clock on the master volume there. The bass is fine, the treble is fine. Yeah, they're great.
Fast thought number two. Fast thought number two.
Okay, one of the biggest differences between this and the previous arrangers is the touchscreen interface. Now, a touchscreen is fine, don't get me wrong, for editing parameters, navigating menus and so on, but it's not a great real-time control, in my opinion anyway. I find it very difficult during a performance in the heat of the moment to accurately hit those little touch zones if I want to mute a part or adjust the volume in the mixer. Now, my previous PSR did have physical buttons for the mixer down below, and I really miss them. Okay, here we go, this time.
Fast thought number three. Fast thought number three.
Many of you have been asking about the Keybed, the actual keyboard on this, because it's supposedly improved over the previous models. Well, I can confirm that it does feel different. It does feel better. It's a much quieter action. It's a much quieter action than before, and the keys bottom out in a nice soft way. And the actual keys themselves have a rounded finish to the corners, which quite literally feels very nice. It's not a night and day difference by any means, but I do notice an improvement.
Fast thought number four.
Staying on the subject of the LCD then, I'm not a huge fan of the new home screen layout that's inherited from the Genos. I prefer the old home screen actually. It was more legible, the fonts were larger, they were better contrast. Now we seem to have a lot of wasted space and these large, blurry, artistic images of the instruments instead of useful information. But maybe that can be fixed in a firmware update if enough of us complain. And it might just be me.
Fast thought number five. Fast thought number five.
Yamaha sometimes get a bad rap for making complicated user interfaces on their synthesizers. Well, I'm happy to report that this keyboard has the user interface and the OS from the Yamaha Genos, which is much improved. I find this operating system to be extremely easy to use, very intuitive, fast, and easy to navigate and find the stuff that you need.
Fast thought number 6.
Okay, here is a complaint that I have that is typical for Arranger keyboards. Now, Yamaha have put in a very good acoustic piano sound here, But the electric piano category, the organs, I find are quite weak, especially the electric pianos. I can't find a decent Rhodes sound in this at all. It's rather disappointing and it sounds very dated, like something you'd find on a synthesizer 10 years ago. It seems like the focus for these goes into first the acoustic piano, then the guitars, the flutes, the saxophones, and the vocal scat sounds. Now that might be cool and fun, but for me that's not the bread and butter sounds that I really need anyway. It's also a little bit light on those traditional analog synthesizer sounds that I enjoy. Many of the synth sounds seem to be dance and EDM and techno oriented, which isn't really my bag.
Fast thought number 7.
Here's the killer feature of the new PSR, and perhaps a good reason to upgrade if you have an older model. Yes, I'm talking about the chord looper. This allows you to record in a chord sequence and then play it back. And of course you can change the styles, the accompaniments, the tempo and everything on the fly, but it will continue to play the chords for you. Great feature, of course, something that should have been on these arranger keyboards years ago.
Fast thought number 8. Fast thought number 8.
In general use, I'm not actually hearing a significant difference, or really any difference, in the sounds and the styles between this and my previous PSR models. Now don't get me wrong, this thing does sound fabulous. The styles are amazing and excellent in the vast majority of cases. But so was my PSR 970 from 3 years ago, and so was my 910 that I had about 5 years ago. Perhaps I was expecting more of a difference in the sounds and the architecture now that we have this keyboard which is inherited from the Genos. I'm not saying it sounds bad, it sounds great, but to my ears the previous model sounded just as good.
Fast thought number 9.
So these two real-time control knobs might look a little bit minimal to those of us that are used to synthesizers, but I can tell you that they are really useful. The feel of the knobs is very good, and you can freely assign these to any of a huge list of useful parameters and shortcuts, and in a performance they do work really well.
Fast thought number 10.
The audio styles are gone. Where are they? Why have you taken them away? In the previous PSR, they were my favourite category of styles. They were actually recordings of real musicians that you could play back and arrange on the fly. Sadly, they're gone. Now, there is some fancy Revo drum feature, but it's very vague what that is and what's been inherited from the Genos flagship model. Not a substitute for those great audio styles.
Let's wrap this thing up.
One thread that I noticed in the comments was that some of you thought that these arranger keyboards sounded cheesy. And to some extent, I do agree with you. They certainly can sound cheesy, but they don't have to. And remember, one man's cheese is another man's yogurt. Yeah, of course, if you're going to play the cha-cha style with a harmonized saxophone section, then yeah, I agree, it's going to sound a little bit cheesy. But you don't have to use those styles. There are 500 or so styles on board here, and you can also tweak them. There's a lot of flexibility and power under the hood to customize those styles or even create your own and make this thing give you the sound that you want. Another thing I was considering is that a synthesizer usually has some kind of sequencer where you can record, say, an 8-bar measure and then loop that over and over again and maybe add some parts, mute some parts, but you can't actually change the structure or the chords that are being played. Whilst on this one, you could create your own arrangement and then play it in real time. On the fly, make changes to the chords and the structure. That's the real strength of these workstations over a traditional sequencer, I think. There's a lot of power under the hood and you can dial in your own sound. You don't have to use the stock styles, and I probably won't be either. I'll be experimenting how to use this in slightly less conventional ways. Bottom line though, it's a huge amount of fun to play. I've had many late night sessions just because I get carried away and inspired after I've tweaked some of the styles to make them how I want. And that's the bottom line. A lot of fun to play, and that keeps you playing more. And I've noticed that people respond very well to the music that I'm playing as well. Since it's got built-in speakers, everybody in the house has to listen. If I could only have one, a synthesizer, say like the Modi X, or an arranger keyboard like this one, which would it be? Well, that's pretty tough. The Modi X has better sounds in the categories that I enjoy, the piano, the electric piano, the synth and so on. This one beats it on the jazz, scat and the trumpet, however. But this one, on the other hand, has more enjoyable accompaniments and it's a lot more fun. And I like being able to change the arrangements in real time. So yeah, this is pretty tough, but I think the one I take to the desert island is the arranger keyboard. Epic. Those then were my initial impressions after owning this keyboard for a short time. And remember that my opinions will surely change as I learn to use this keyboard over time. Please leave comments below if you agree or disagree with any of my opinions, or if you think I've missed out something important. I look forward to reading those. Please subscribe for more videos about the PSR and a few other interesting synthesizers that I've got lined up that are coming in the future. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again soon. Cheerio. Just wanted to tell you about my piano inspiration series. These are video lessons with the goal of improving playing technique, building music theory knowledge, and broadening your repertoire. I've created lessons for players of all abilities, and we cover a wide variety of topics and musical genres. I'm really proud of how they came out. Subscribe to my Patreon or join my YouTube channel, and you'll get 2 new episodes every month, plus instant access to the entire archive. If you prefer, you can watch old episodes for free on Skillshare when you use my link. More information in the video description or on my website.